Alright, so this video has been a long time coming. In fact, it is the whole reason I started this stupid channel. I have spent my entire life learning how to do things, different things, a whole bunch of them. And one of the hardest things that I have had to learn how to do is recognize and control my abilities. And I think I'm finally ready to try and put into a video how to develop your own abilities. I'm just going to have to do them one at a time because the strategy for each one is so completely different. I mean, there are some similar themes that carry over, but you know, it's stuff like practice and clear your mind and let stuff come to you. You know, it's so vague, and I can't really see that as being particularly helpful to people. So I would like to teach you guys one power at a time how you can also have really cool abilities. Today, I want to do Foresight. Now, this is an ability that I strongly suggest you think very hard about trying to develop. The reason being that most of the people I talk to end up seeing tragic accidents and death. And there's a lot of people who don't actually want to see their futures because, I mean, when you can sense the future, you basically live your life 2, 3, or 5 times. Just these moments will pop up over and over and over again, and it can get kind of tiring, especially if it's something bad. I'm just happy that I have so much natural control over stuff that I don't have to worry about seeing myself die in a car crash or whatever 5 or 6 times before it happens. If I'm going to die in a car crash, I'm going to suddenly start feeling very, very nervous in the last few months before my life ends. That's about it. I don't have to be constantly tortured by reliving my death over and over and over again years before it happens. But not everybody is going to be so lucky, and I know that. That said, I'd like to get on to how I developed this ability. When I was a kid growing up, I used to get deja vu all the time. Like, literally all the time. I remember this one time when I was 7, I had deja vu 2 times in the same week. And it was just random, everyday stuff. I didn't understand at the time what was going on. All I knew was it made absolutely no sense to my mind at the time. It freaked me out, and I didn't have to worry about deja vu for several months after that. I'm pretty sure I shut off my abilities. Fortunately, I am so powerful that apparently I can't keep them shut off for very long. Because, slowly but surely, I started experiencing deja vu again. All the time. Every few months, every few weeks, a few times a month, a few times a week, and then when I'm 13, I have deja vu twice in the same day. Freaked me the heck out. I even remember the exact deja vu moment that freaked me out both these times. The first time, it was just a specific angle looking at this big bush with yellow flowers next to a staircase near where I live. I've seen that area 1,000 times, and yet this time it was at the exact right angle to trigger deja vu. Doesn't sound like much, but then when I was 13, I saw a little cross on a specific girl's necklace, and I remembered seeing it before. That girl, I mean, I don't even know if I knew her. All I know is I'd never seen that moment before. And there was no way I could mistake that for something I'd seen before. It literally had never happened before. But being in high school now, I was a little bit more mature, a little bit smarter, and although that particular ability shut off then, and I didn't have deja vu for quite a while after that, I did realize that something was going on there. And at this point, I was already really, really nuts about superheroes. And I started thinking about it a lot. And eventually, I realized that probably the deja vu had something to do with the ability Foresight. And I decided to give it a shot and see what happened. It was fun while it was all in theory and there was no way that it was provable one way or the other. That was fun. And I pursued it relentlessly like I do a lot of other fun stuff that has nothing to do with anything. But eventually it became more real. The way I did this was by trying over and over and over again to do the exact same thing. It didn't matter what it was. I tried to look ahead to find out what the answer was. And at first I didn't really know how to do that. So I unknowingly used an Ask the Universe ability. I just kind of thought of the problem, the answer, and where this answer might be. It's with the person who knows this answer. And I just kind of let it come to me, and then I followed the instructions that came. They were very vague and amorphous, and it's not like they came in word form, so I can't actually describe it. But it was just this feeling I could follow. And I would empty my mind of everything except for the question at hand and every possible answer I could think of. Eventually, I also would introduce something else, an other category. And I would just try to see which one of these possibilities was the most likely, the most right, whatever. Which one would sort of brighten up, whereas the others got kind of darker. And I did this over and over and over again for literally everything. Every time I came to a crossroads where there was a decision to be made, I just did that. It didn't matter if it was what route do I take to get to my next class, or what food am I going to be happiest eating for lunch today, or where should I go to eat my lunch, or whatever. It didn't matter what it was. I would do this every single time. Now, bear in mind, there is a trap you can easily fall into when you do this. People can get addicted to knowing the answers first. Make sure you're not one of those people that really needs to know what's going to happen before you can make a decision, because this ability is not for you, believe me. If you lean too heavily on anything, you're going to end up losing it. And when you lose the ability, you've also lost the ability to make the decisions on your own, and then where are you? So, make sure that that is not a likely scenario for you, and make sure to monitor that you're still able to make decisions on your own. Just do it sometimes, just for the heck of it, to make sure that you still can. Even when it's scary. I mean, I may have a lot of fear issues surrounding that, but I've also noticed that I can still make a decision without checking the future, and I sometimes will, just because I'm lazy. But anyway, so I kept doing this over and over and over again for several years, and I also discovered other techniques that would help me improve my ability to sense the correct answer rather than getting confused by my thoughts or assumptions or whatever. And one of those was by jacking up the signal, because for whatever reason, I've noticed sometimes when I'm trying to connect to an answer, I can't connect very well. For some reason, the signal is really, really weak. And one of the methods I use to jack up the signal is something I call layering, where basically I use several future moments to have the exact same vision, and I layer them over each other so that I'm basically having the same vision 4 or 5 times in a row. Now, the next second, the second after that, and the second after that, basically all at once, and I can layer that same vision, that same answer, over itself a whole bunch of times to basically improve the strength of the image. And it's a lot like taking 4 different 4 transparencies of the exact same picture and placing them over each other. If they were too light to begin with, once you do that, you'll be able to see it a lot better. But it is rather rough on my brain, and I kind of have to be a multitasker to be able to do it, because, you know, I have to follow basically 4 different moments in time at the same time. You know, it's not that easy having 4 visions at once. Another technique I use is Freudian slip. Now, it does not work that well for me. I don't know why. It may have something to do with the fact that I have way too many filters in the way, so whatever my knee-jerk reaction is, it usually ends up stomped before it can come out. That's one of the downsides of hyper-control. But I can use Freudian slip to sometimes get an answer that I can't get any other way. And basically all I do is I connect to that future moment. I have no idea what my vision is. I just start speaking out a sentence that might have some kind of relation to this vision I can't really see, and stuff will just kind of come out. And practically every single time this happens, it's like really accurate. It disturbed me a few times, which is probably another reason why it doesn't... I don't do it that much. It's a little disturbing to me. Which probably seems weird, but, you know, whatever. I'm still very much at odds with my abilities. So, bear in mind, all results will differ from person to person. When I first started learning this ability, I found I had a lot of issues with trusting myself. I'd get an answer, but it would be so quick. And right after that, there'd be like this torrent just attacking it, telling it how wrong it is, how unlikely it is, how there's no way I could possibly know anything, and then all of a sudden it would just kind of disappear and I'd never be able to see it again. And this made it really difficult to try and develop a very nascent ability. I mean, if I couldn't trust in the visions that I was getting, even a little bit, even if I was wrong, like more than half the time actually, I started off wrong more than half the time when I was doing this. I had to trust myself though. And the more I trusted myself, the less often I was wrong. And I've actually gotten to the point now where I can tell the difference between a guess and a vision or a feeling. But I had to learn how to put all that doubt out of my mind. Just, you know what? If I'm wrong, so what? Who cares? Because I'm not telling anybody about this. I'm not doing it in front of anyone. I never, ever predicted anything to anyone until I was sure that I was actually going to be right. And I didn't do that until I was right about 96% of the time. Now it's 98. Yay. But I had to develop this technique of just shoving all of the doubt and the worry out of my mind, even though it was a knee-jerk reaction. Because in the end, it really didn't matter yet, because the predictions that I was making were about stupid things, like which food I was going to be happiest with, or which path should I take home from school. You know, who cares? If I'm wrong, you know, oh well. Something not so helpful happens, like the lights take too long to turn, or I stumble when I'm going down a dirt path. You know, whatever, who cares? Other times I'd actually be right, and I'd notice that the guy who liked to bully me with his bicycle charged by just as I was entering the street I would have been on had I taken the other path. Yeah. So I got little bits here and there of confirmation that I was actually right. And I hung on to those. I hung on to them and said, you know what? I'm right sometimes. So I don't have to worry about being wrong other times, because I'm actually right sometimes. And it didn't feel like a coincidence. It felt a little more than that. And the more this happened, the less coincidental it looked. I mean, being able to sense the future has saved me from a lot of really unnecessary headaches. I mean, a lot of them. It's also started to warn me about my really bad days. Yeah, that is a very weird side effect that I've been having. Instead of being all shaky and nervous after I've had a really hard day and I've been scared like the whole day and upset, and I've had all the stuff I had to go through and working really hard to try and achieve great purpose, you know. Now I get jittery and nervous before I even know it's going to happen. So if I'm starting to get jittery and nervous and I can't sit still, I can't concentrate on anything, and I keep wanting to run away for no apparent reason, I could pretty well bet that tomorrow something is going to happen that's going to scare the heck out of me. But once it does happen, then I'm fine. It's so weird. It's like I did all my freaking out beforehand, and now I'm fine. It's over. Yay. Okay. I'm good now. I can go on with my day. It's the weirdest thing, because you would think that if before I started developing this ability, I would react badly to having to go through really hard, awful days, and it would just ruin my day, and I'd be all upset and even traumatized a lot of times, that it would happen afterward too, right? Because it happened and now I have to emotionally deal with it. Well, apparently not, because apparently now I'm emotionally dealing with it first. And then I have the really awful day, and now I'm free to go on carefree and be happy again. It's the weirdest thing, and it's completely counterintuitive. But I'm glad it happens now, because I get warning about it so that I can go, oh, that's why I'm all jittery and upset. It's because, surprise, I got an interview to do today. Or, surprise, I have to give a speech today and I have no speech. 2 hours and no speech. What am I going to do? Well, I could always have them give me the speech, and yeah, that'll work. And it totally did. Everybody was laughing hilariously. I've never gotten a response like that before. But oh my god. This ability completely changed how I live my life. I mean, I live life out of order now. I lose track of when things are or when things have happened a lot more than I probably should, so that's another thing to be warned about. And I know about stuff before it's gonna happen, especially bad stuff. I mean, I never, ever, ever want to see anything bad that's coming at me. I mean, it scares the heck out of me, and everything in me literally refuses. I mean, I simply refuse to experience that. And it works. Just absolutely, with every fiber of my being, refusing to see anything that's going to scare the heck out of me, because then I'm going to have to live it. Or because it's happening to somebody and completely inevitable. I mean, it blocks almost every single instance of that. So I don't have to be bothered by the fact that I can sense the future all the time. I can see all the good stuff and know what's coming, but I also get warning before bad stuff happens anyway. Which may be unpleasant while I'm going through it, but, you know, it does also help to prepare me, so that's good. But if you have any deal breakers, make sure that you put effort into not seeing that. Because I gotta tell you, I've talked to enough people with this ability, and they can be really traumatized by some of the stuff they see. I mean, they will see car crashes and family members getting into trouble and people dying, and they run around trying to tell people about what's going to happen. Please don't do this, don't do that, and then it happens anyway because nobody listened. This happens a lot. Nobody listens because nobody believes in it. Do not tell people who don't believe in psychic abilities that you just saw them have an unfortunate ending. Not a good idea. A much better idea is to say, what if this happens? I suggest you do this to prevent that. They may be stubborn and argue with you about it, but I'm sure a lot of you can figure out how to logic them into a corner and get them to do it anyway. Don't give them a reason to ignore you or dismiss you. Give them a reason to listen and hide the rest until later. You can even keep a journal about it so you can give them proof later. Hey, look at when I filmed this. Look at when I recorded myself talking about this. I already knew. You know, you can do that, but just make sure when you're trying to prevent it, you don't start out with, I had a vision. Because a lot of times that's gonna reinforce it, cause it to happen, and then you're just upset or people are even dying. That's not good. Okay, so I am sure that I have missed a ton of stuff that I did to try and develop this ability, but I really cannot think of anything else. So if you need me to elaborate on anything, please post your comments, because I haven't really spent a whole lot of time trying to teach people how to develop abilities. I've done it sometimes here and there, and always in a written format where I could just kind of think about it and think about it and then realize I missed something earlier, go back and add it and think about it some more. I mean, it can take me half an hour to 2 hours to write out a how-to on how to develop your abilities, depending on which ability it is and how much there is to write about it. So I'm sure I've missed stuff. Let me know. I will answer any and all questions about it. I want to help. I may even do a follow-up video where I cover all the stuff I missed. Because, you know, this is a learning experience for me too. I gotta figure out how to take what's up in here and get it on camera in a cogent manner. Using words that aren't weird and vague and difficult to understand for people who don't necessarily have the kind of experience with a non-corporeal life that I have. So that's a lot of translating. I mean, honestly, it's like going from English to Chinese. That's a very difficult conversion from what I hear on a lot of different levels. So it's basically the same thing. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that this was at least somewhat helpful to you guys, and please also post below if there is a particular ability you'd like to request me doing next. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye!